My son Trevor's fist connected with my jaw in my own kitchen on a February night so cold the windows had frost climbing the glass. Blood from my split lip spattered onto the tile I installed 40 years ago. My daughter-in-law Courtney stood in the doorway, arms crossed, smirking. Trevor screamed at me to get out of their house. Their house. I stumbled to my bedroom, threw clothes into a duffel bag, and walked out into the bitter cold without my coat, hearing Courtney's laughter echo behind me. I sat in my truck in the parking lot of a grocery store 6 blocks from my house, engine running, heater blasting, trying to stop my hands from shaking. A wad of paper napkins from the glove compartment pressed against my bleeding lip turned dark red. My jaw throbbed where Trevor's knuckles had landed. In 67 years of life, nobody had ever hit me like that. Not in the Army. Not in 45 years of construction work. Nobody. Especially not my own son. The truck's dashboard clock glowed 9:43. Less than an hour ago, I'd been sitting in my recliner watching the evening news. Trevor had come into the living room, Courtney right behind him, and started yelling about how I needed to move out, how they needed their space, how I was ruining their lives by living in my own house. When I refused, when I said this was my home that I built with my own hands, Trevor's face went dark. He came at me. I stood up to defend myself, and that's when his fist flew. I never even got to throw a punch back. I just stood there, shocked, blood running down my chin, while my son, my boy who I taught to ride a bike and throw a baseball, looked at me with pure hatred in his eyes. The heater couldn't warm the cold spreading through my chest. I needed to think, needed to figure out what to do. But my mind kept replaying the moment over and over. The impact, the blood, Courtney's smirk, Trevor's voice screaming that it was their house now. Their house. I built that house in 1982, the year Trevor was born. Did most of the work myself, weekends and evenings after my regular construction jobs. Helen and I designed every room. We picked out every fixture, every paint color. We raised both our kids there, Trevor and his sister Bryn. Helen died in that house 3 years ago, in our bedroom, with hospice nurses and me holding her hand while cancer took her away from us. And now Trevor was calling it his house. I pulled out my phone with shaking, bloody fingers and called the only person I could think of. Walter Jenkins answered on the second ring. "Quinn, that you?" "Walter, I need help." 20 minutes later, I pulled up to Walter's apartment building on the east side of town. He was waiting outside in the cold, his 71-year-old frame wrapped in a heavy coat, his breath making clouds in the frigid air. When he saw my face under the parking lot lights, his eyes went wide. "Good Lord, Quinn. What happened?" I told him everything. We sat in his small living room, me holding an ice pack to my jaw, while Walter listened with growing anger on his weathered face. Walter and I had worked together for 30 years before we both retired. He'd been at Helen's funeral. He'd checked on me every week since she passed. He was the closest thing to a brother I had. "You need to call the police," Walter said when I finished. "That boy assaulted you. In your own home. He's still my son. He's a criminal who attacked his elderly father. Quinn, you're bleeding. Look at yourself." I looked down. Blood had dripped onto my shirt, my jacket. My hands were still trembling. "I just need a place to stay tonight. Clear my head. Figure things out." Walter shook his head but didn't argue. "The couch is yours as long as you need it." I tried to sleep but couldn't. Around 11, my phone buzzed. Then again, and again. Notifications lighting up the dark room. I grabbed the phone, squinting at the screen. My doorbell camera app. Motion detected. I'd installed that camera system 2 years ago, when Trevor and Courtney first moved in, telling myself it was for security. Now I opened the app with a sick feeling in my stomach. The camera showed my driveway, my front yard, and cars. Dozens of cars pulling up, parking along the street, people getting out carrying cases of beer, bottles of liquor. Music started, loud enough that the camera's microphone picked it up even from the front porch. People I didn't recognize streaming into my house like it was some kind of nightclub. I switched to the backyard camera. There was Courtney, standing on my back deck, the deck I'd built the summer Helen got diagnosed, needing a project to keep my hands busy while my heart broke. Courtney held a red plastic cup high in the air, surrounded by a crowd of laughing people. The camera picked up her voice clearly. "He's gone. We're finally free. This is our house now." The crowd cheered. Someone turned the music louder. I watched my neighbors, Gary and Susan Thompson, stand on their front lawn in their bathrobes, looking confused and angry at the noise. Then Trevor appeared in the camera frame. He put his arm around Courtney's waist, pulled her close, and kissed her. When they broke apart, he was grinning. Actually grinning. "We did it, baby." Trevor's voice came through the speaker. "No more old man breathing down our necks. Place is finally ours." I stared at the phone screen, ice spreading through my veins that had nothing to do with the February cold. This wasn't a spontaneous fight. This wasn't Trevor losing his temper. They'd planned this. The assault. Driving me out. They'd been waiting for me to leave so they could throw a party celebrating my departure. Celebrating. Walter came out of his bedroom, heard me moving around. "What's wrong?" I showed him the phone. We watched together as Trevor and Courtney toasted with their cups. As strangers trashed my living room. As someone knocked over the bookshelf Helen and I had picked out at an antique store in Columbus on our 20th anniversary. "Those bastards," Walter whispered. "Quinn, this was premeditated. They planned to drive you out." I couldn't speak. My throat had closed up. My eyes burned, but I wouldn't cry. Not yet. Not while I could still see my son's smiling face on that screen, celebrating what he'd done to his own father. I sat there until dawn, watching the party on my phone, watching strangers destroy the home I'd built, watching my son and his wife laugh and dance in the house where Helen died, where we'd raised our children, where every nail and board held 43 years of memories. When the sun came up and the last drunk partygoers stumbled to their cars, I finally understood. Trevor and Courtney hadn't just attacked me. They'd stolen my home, and they'd been planning it for a very long time. Walter made coffee at 6 in the morning. Neither of us had slept. I kept checking my doorbell camera, watching my house like I was guarding something I'd already lost. The party had ended around 4, leaving my lawn littered with beer cans and cigarette butts. My house looked dark and quiet now, like nothing had happened. "We're going over there," Walter announced, pouring coffee into 2 travel mugs. "Right now, before they have time to clean up or make up stories." "Walter, I don't think. I'm not asking. Get in my truck." 20 minutes later, we pulled into my driveway. The morning sun lit up the disaster on my lawn. Bottles. Trash. Someone had trampled Helen's rose bushes, the ones she'd spent 5 years cultivating. I felt something break inside my chest. Walter and I walked to the front door. I still had my key. My hand shook as I unlocked it. The inside was worse than the camera showed. Beer bottles everywhere. Cigarette burns on Helen's antique coffee table, the one her grandmother had left her. Furniture moved around. Stains on the carpet. The smell of alcohol and smoke so thick I could taste it. And in my kitchen, making breakfast like nothing had happened, were Trevor and Courtney. Trevor saw me first. He didn't look surprised, didn't look guilty. He just smiled, cold and calculating, and kept scrambling eggs in my cast-iron skillet. "Morning, Dad. Forget something. Trevor, we need to talk. You need to leave. Both of you. This is my house." Courtney laughed, actually laughed, while sipping coffee from one of Helen's good mugs. "Your house? That's funny. I built this house. My name is on the deed. You two have been staying here temporarily, and now I'm asking you to leave." Trevor set down the spatula. He reached into his pocket and pulled out his phone, tapped it a few times, turned it to face me. "See these documents, Dad? That's a power of attorney, with your signature on it, giving me legal authority over your affairs." My blood went cold. "I never signed that." "Says you did. 6 months ago. October 14th, to be exact. You came to Courtney's mom's house, said you were having trouble remembering things. Wanted to make sure someone could help you manage your money and property if your memory got worse. That's a lie. I never." And here, Trevor swiped to another document, "is a lease agreement. You've been renting this house to me for 2 years. See? Your signature. My signature. All legal." I stepped closer, grabbed his phone, stared at the documents. They looked real, official. notarized stamps, witness signatures, and there, on the signature line, something that looked like my handwriting. But I never signed these papers. Never. Those are forgeries, I said, my voice shaking. I never signed anything. You're lying. Trevor's smile widened. That's what someone with dementia would say, Dad. That's exactly what the doctor said you'd say when we told him about your memory problems. I don't have memory problems. No, Courtney chimed in, setting down her mug. Then why did you sign these documents and forget about them? Why did you have that doctor's appointment last year and not remember it? Why do you keep asking us the same questions over and over? She was good. She was very good. Making up a whole story. Lies stacked on lies. Delivered with complete confidence. Walter stepped forward. This is fraud. Quinn, call the police right now. I pulled out my phone with shaking hands and dialed 911. Told the dispatcher my son was refusing to leave my house and had forged legal documents. She said officers were on the way. We waited in tense silence. Trevor and Courtney kept making breakfast, acting like nothing was wrong. I stood in my own kitchen feeling like an intruder. 2 police officers arrived 12 minutes later. Officers Martinez and Chen. I explained the situation. Showed them the assault from last night. My split lip and bruised jaw as evidence. Told them about the forged documents. Trevor, calm as could be, showed them the power of attorney paperwork and the lease agreement on his phone, plus printed copies he pulled from a folder in the kitchen drawer. My kitchen drawer. Officer Martinez examined the documents carefully. Sir, he said to me, these appear to be legally valid documents with notarized signatures. I never signed them. He has dementia, Courtney said softly, putting on a concerned face. We've been trying to help him, but he gets confused and angry. Last night he attacked Trevor. We had to defend ourselves. That's not what happened, I shouted. He hit me. Look at my face. Do you have any proof these documents are forged? Officer Chen asked. I'm telling you I never signed them. Isn't that proof? Officer Martinez shook his head slowly. Sir, this is a civil matter. If you dispute the validity of these documents, you need to take it to court. We can't forcibly remove tenants who have a lease and POA authorization. You'll need to file for eviction through the proper legal channels. How long does that take? Walter demanded. Could be several months. Depends on the court schedule. Several months. Living with Walter. Unable to get into my own house. While Trevor and Courtney destroyed everything Helen and I built. The officers left. Told me to contact a lawyer. Told Trevor and Courtney to keep the peace. As they walked out, Officer Martinez pulled me aside on the porch. His voice low. Listen, I've seen this before. Elder financial abuse. Document everything. Every interaction. Every expense, everything. Get a lawyer today. But be careful. If they have power of attorney, they can access your bank accounts. His words hit me like a second punch. My bank accounts. Walter, we need to go. Now. We rushed to my bank, First National on 4th Street. Got there 10 minutes before they opened. I was pacing the parking lot when the manager, a woman named Patricia Chen, unlocked the doors. Mr. Quinn, good morning. Is everything okay? I need to check my accounts. All of them. Right now. She led us to her office, logged into the system, pulled up my information. Her face went pale. Mr. Quinn, there's been some significant activity on your savings account. What kind of activity? She turned the monitor toward me. 3 days ago, $73,000 was transferred from your savings account to a new joint account listing you and Trevor Quinn as co-owners. The room tilted. $73,000. My life savings. Money I'd been putting away for 50 years. Working overtime, skipping vacations, saving every spare dollar. Helen's life insurance payout that I'd been saving to leave to Trevor and Bryn someday. Gone. I didn't authorize that transfer, I said. My voice sounded far away. The transaction was completed, using a valid power of attorney on file. We followed all proper procedures. That POA is forged. Patricia looked genuinely sympathetic. Mr. Quinn, I believe you. But legally, we had authorization. You'll need to prove the POA is invalid and file a fraud claim. I can help you start that process. But recovering the funds could take time. How much time? Months. Maybe longer. And you'll need to involve law enforcement and possibly hire an attorney. I sat down hard in the chair. Walter put his hand on my shoulder. $73,000. My home. My son's fist in my face. Helen's coffee table burned. Her roses trampled. "Mr. Quinn," Patricia said gently, "I'm so sorry. But you should know that whoever has POA authority can access all your accounts. Your checking account, your retirement account, everything. You need to act fast to freeze your assets before more damage is done. More damage. More money stolen. More of my life erased." I looked up at Patricia, at Walter, feeling like I was drowning. "What do I do?" "Get a lawyer," Patricia said. "Today, right now. Fight this. Because people who do this kind of thing don't stop until they've taken everything. Everything." I'd woken up yesterday morning as a retired construction worker, a widower, a father and grandfather, living in the house I built. 24 hours later, I was homeless, penniless, assaulted by my own son, and watching 50 years of my life disappear into the hands of thieves. And the thieves were my own family. I found a lawyer that afternoon through a referral from Patricia at the bank. Her name was Angela Winters, a woman in her 50s with sharp eyes and a no-nonsense demeanor. Her office was small but tidy, and she listened to my story without interrupting, taking notes on a yellow legal pad. When I finished, she sat back and let out a long breath. "Mr. Quinn, I'm going to be honest with you. This is bad, really bad, but it's not hopeless. Tell me what we need to do. First, I'll send these documents to a forensic handwriting analyst. We need expert testimony that these signatures are forgeries. That'll cost about $3,000. Second, we file a police report for fraud, identity theft, and financial exploitation of a vulnerable adult. Third, we petition the court for an emergency injunction to freeze all your accounts and prevent further transfers. Fourth, we file to invalidate the power of attorney. Fifth, we start eviction proceedings against Trevor and Courtney. My head was spinning. How much is all this going to cost? The handwriting analysis is $3,000. Court filing fees, another $500. If we go to trial, expert witnesses, depositions, my fees, you're looking at $10,000 minimum, maybe $15,000. I had $800 in my checking account. That was it. Everything else was either stolen or frozen. Angela saw my face. "I'll work with you on payment. Take what you can afford now, the rest when you recover your assets." I believe you, Mr. Quinn, and I've seen enough elder abuse cases to know the real thing when I hear it. I wrote her a check for $500, everything I could spare. She got to work immediately, filing the police report, sending the documents to her forensic expert, preparing the court petitions. Over the next 2 weeks, I lived on Walter's couch and watched my life unravel further. My monthly pension check, $1,200 from the Ironworkers Union, went into my checking account by direct deposit on the 1st of March. By March 2nd, it was gone, transferred to the joint account Trevor controlled. I discovered Trevor had opened credit cards in my name, using the power of attorney. My home equity line of credit, which I'd never used, was maxed out at $40,000. All that money, gone. Spent on what, I didn't know. But Angela's investigator found charges for a boat, jewelry, a trip to Mexico, new furniture. Every day brought new financial devastation. I tried calling my daughter Bryn. She lived in Columbus, 3 hours away, taught high school English, had 2 kids of her own. I needed her to know what was happening. Needed her support. She answered on the 4th ring. "Dad? Bryn. Honey, I need to tell you something. Trevor and Courtney have been." "Dad, stop. Trevor already called me. He told me everything." My heart sank. "What did he tell you? That you've been having memory problems? That you're confused and angry? That you attacked him and he had to defend himself?" "Dad, he's worried about you. We all are." "Bryn, that's not what happened. Trevor hit me. He forged documents. He stole my money." Silence. Then, in that careful voice people use when talking to someone they think is crazy, "Dad, Trevor showed me the power of attorney paperwork. You signed it. He has the notarized documents. Those are forged. Dad, the notary stamp is from Courtney's mom. It's official. And Trevor says you came to their house to sign them because you were worried about your memory. I never did that. Bryn, I'm telling you the truth. Dad, she sighed, and I heard the disbelief in her voice. Maybe you don't remember. Trevor says that's part of the problem. You don't remember things you've done or said. Maybe you should see a doctor. Get evaluated. Trevor thinks you might need help, and honestly, after hearing all this, I'm starting to agree. The betrayal cut deeper than Trevor's fist. You don't believe me. I believe you believe what you're saying. But Dad, you're almost 70. Mom died 3 years ago. Maybe the stress and grief are affecting you more than you realize. Let Trevor help you. He's trying to take care of you. He's trying to rob me. I have to go, Dad. I've got papers to grade. Please think about seeing a doctor. We love you. She hung up. I sat there holding the phone, feeling like the ground had opened beneath me. Trevor had gotten to her first, planted seeds of doubt, made me sound unstable. And Bryn, who I'd raised, who I'd taught to ride a bike and helped with homework and walk down the aisle at her wedding, believed him over me. Angela called 3 days later with news. The forensic analyst has preliminary findings. The signatures on the POA and lease documents are sophisticated forgeries, but they are definitely forgeries. The pressure points, the pen lifts, the letter formations don't match your known signature samples. We can prove this in court. That's good news, right? Yes. But there's a problem. To get an emergency injunction, we need to show immediate ongoing harm. The judge denied our first petition, said we need more evidence before they'll freeze the accounts. The forensic analysis will take 6 weeks to complete. Until then, Trevor can keep draining your accounts. 6 weeks. By then, there'd be nothing left. There's something else, Angela said, her voice careful. I did some background research on Courtney. Her maiden name is Courtney Fletcher. 4 years ago in Indiana, she and Trevor were investigated for elder financial abuse of Courtney's grandmother, a woman named Dorothy Fletcher. My stomach dropped. What happened? Dorothy died before the case went to trial. Heart attack. The charges were dropped. But the police report is damning. They allegedly used the same methods. Forged POA, drained bank accounts, isolated the grandmother from other family members. The grandmother's neighbor gave a statement saying she witnessed Courtney pressuring Dorothy to sign documents, saw suspicious activity, saw Trevor and Courtney moving Dorothy's belongings out of her house weeks before she died. They'd done this before. This was a pattern. Professional con artists who targeted elderly family members, stole everything, and moved on to the next victim. And I was the next victim. Angela, if they did this before, it strengthens our case significantly, shows a pattern of behavior. But Quinn, it also means these people are dangerous. That grandmother's death was suspiciously convenient timing. I'm not saying they killed her, but she didn't have to finish. I understood. 2 days later, I got served with new legal papers. Trevor was petitioning the court to have me declared legally incompetent. The petition included a statement from a doctor I'd never heard of, someone named Dr. Harrison Webb, claiming I'd undergone an examination last April that showed signs of dementia and cognitive decline. I'd never been to any doctor named Webb, never had any examination last April. More forgeries, more lies. But fighting this meant hiring a doctor of my own to do a competency evaluation. More expert testimony, more court costs. Angela estimated another $10,000, money I didn't have. That night, lying on Walter's couch, staring at the ceiling, I felt the weight of it all crushing me. My home stolen, my savings stolen, my pension stolen. My daughter turned against me, my son trying to have me declared incompetent. Legal bills piling up, no end in sight. I was 67 years old. My body ached from decades of construction work. I had high blood pressure. My hands shook from stress, and I was fighting a war I couldn't afford against my own son. Maybe I should just give up, sign the house over, walk away, let them win, start over somewhere else, if I even could with no money and no home. Helen's face appeared in my mind. The way she looked 2 weeks before she died, weak but still fierce, gripping my hand and telling me to stay strong, to fight for what was right, to never let anyone push me around. I closed my eyes and felt tears finally come. Tears I'd been holding back for days, for Helen, for my stolen life, for the son I'd lost. Walter heard me, came out of his bedroom, sat down in the chair across from the couch. "Don't give up," he said quietly. "I know it seems impossible right now, but don't let them win. I don't know if I can keep fighting." "Yes, you can, because you're Quinn Peterson. You survived Vietnam. You built a business from nothing. You raised 2 kids on a construction worker's salary. You nursed Helen through 3 years of cancer without complaint. You're the toughest man I know. This is just another battle, and you don't lose battles." I wanted to believe him. But in the dark of Walter's living room, with my whole life in ruins, toughness felt like a memory from someone else's life. The next morning, Walter's doorbell rang. He answered it while I was in the bathroom. When I came out, Walter's face was pale. "Who was it?" "Man named Derek. Said he was Courtney's brother-in-law. Big guy. Looked like trouble." "What did he want?" Walter hesitated. "He said to give you a message. Said you should drop everything and walk away. Move to a nursing home somewhere. Let Trevor keep the house and the money. Otherwise, accidents happen to old men. They fall downstairs, they get confused and wander into traffic." His exact words, a direct threat. They weren't just stealing from me. They were threatening to kill me if I didn't surrender. I sat down slowly, processing this new level of danger. These people, my son and his wife and her family, were willing to murder me to keep what they'd stolen. Angela called that afternoon. Trevor had filed for adverse possession of the house, claiming I'd abandoned it. He'd also filed paperwork to have my name removed from the deed using the power of attorney. Every door I tried to open, they slammed shut. Every step forward, they pushed me 3 steps back. I was drowning in paperwork, legal battles, threats, and financial devastation. That night, I couldn't sleep. My chest hurt. My left arm ached. Walter took one look at me and drove me to the emergency room. The doctor said my blood pressure was dangerously high. Stroke risk, heart attack risk. She prescribed medication, ran tests, told me I needed to reduce stress. Reduce stress. While my son was destroying my life and threatening to kill me, the ER bill came to $3,000 after insurance. Money I didn't have. Another debt added to the mountain. I sat in Walter's truck in the hospital parking lot at 2 a.m, feeling the medication start to work, feeling my racing heart slow down, and wondered if Trevor would win just by waiting for me to die. Maybe that was their plan all along. March became April. Cherry blossoms bloomed across town, spring arriving like a mockery of hope, while my life continued its spiral into darkness. I was living on Walter's charity and generosity, sleeping on his couch for 6 weeks now. My few possessions fit in one duffel bag. My bank account stayed at 0 because Trevor kept draining my pension checks the moment they deposited. Angela filed motion after motion, but the courts moved slowly, grinding through paperwork while I ground through my days trying to survive. The medication for my blood pressure cost $90 a month. I couldn't afford it. The doctor at the free clinic said, if I didn't take it, I'd have a stroke within months. Walter paid for the first prescription. I felt like a burden, a weight around his neck, and hated every second of it. I'd worked my whole life, built things, earned my way, and now I was 67 years old and couldn't afford blood pressure medication. Trevor filed more legal papers, a petition to finalize the competency hearing, a motion to make the power of attorney permanent and irrevocable, another motion for adverse possession. Each filing cost me money to fight, money I didn't have, so Angela worked pro bono on most of it but warned me she couldn't do this forever. She had other clients, bills of her own. The forensic handwriting analysis came back officially. The signatures were definitely forged, but proving that in court required scheduling expert testimony, depositions, trial dates. The judge set a hearing for June. 2 more months of this nightmare. I tried Bryn again. Called her cell phone. She didn't answer. Sent to voicemail. I left a message asking her to please listen. Please believe me. Please help me. She never called back. Trevor must have told her not to talk to me. Probably said I was having delusions, that I'd become dangerous. My own daughter, cutting me off because my son had poisoned her against me. I lost weight. Wasn't hungry most days. Walter tried to make me eat, but food tasted like cardboard. I'd catch glimpses of myself in mirrors and not recognize the hollow-eyed, gray-faced old man staring back. On April 15th, tax day, I got more bad news. Trevor had filed my tax return using the power of attorney, claimed me as a dependent, took my refund of $4,000. Money I needed. Money that could have paid Angela, paid my medical bills, given me something to live on. Gone. Just like everything else. Angela investigated the charges on the stolen credit cards. Trevor and Courtney had bought a 28-foot boat, parked at a marina on Lake Erie. They'd spent $12,000 on jewelry, another $8,000 on furniture, $6,000 on a trip to Cancun. They were living like lottery winners on money they'd stolen from me, and there was nothing I could do to stop them. The prosecutor's office said they were investigating, but fraud cases took time to build. They needed overwhelming evidence. They couldn't just arrest people because an old man claimed documents were forged. They needed proof. Proof took months. On April 23rd, I was served with more papers. Trevor was filing to have me evicted from Walter's apartment. The argument was that since Trevor had power of attorney over my affairs, he had the right to determine where I lived, and he'd decided I needed to be in a nursing care facility. He'd already picked one out, a place called Shady Meadows, 40 miles away, that looked like a prison in the photos online. Angela said it was ridiculous, would never hold up in court, but we still had to fight it. More motions, more fees, more court dates. I was being buried alive in paperwork while Trevor and Courtney spent my money and lived in my house. One morning in late April, I woke up on Walter's couch and couldn't remember why I was fighting anymore. What was the point? They'd taken everything. My money, my house, my daughter's trust, my dignity, my health. What was left to fight for? Helen's wedding ring. It hit me like lightning. Helen's wedding ring was still in my nightstand drawer in the bedroom of the house Trevor had stolen. Her grandmother's ring, passed down through 3 generations. The ring I'd put on her finger on June 12, 1978. The ring she'd worn for 42 years until I buried her. The only thing left of her that mattered. And I couldn't get to it. I started crying. Right there on Walter's couch at 7 in the morning. I broke. Sobbed like I hadn't sobbed since Helen's funeral. For everything lost, everything stolen, everything destroyed. Walter found me like that. Didn't say anything. Just sat down and put his hand on my shoulder while I cried myself empty. I can't do this anymore, I whispered. I'm done. No, you're not. They've won. They've taken everything. They haven't taken you. You're still here. Still fighting. For what? What's left? Walter was quiet for a long moment. Then he said something that changed everything. You remember what Helen said to you? 2 weeks before she died. I looked up at him, eyes burning. She told you to be strong. Fight for what's right. Never let anyone push you around. Walter leaned forward. That's what's left, Quinn. Your strength, your integrity, the man you've been your whole life. They can take your money and your house, but they can't take who you are, unless you let them. I wiped my eyes, looked at my hands. The same hands that had built houses, fixed cars, held my children when they were born, held Helen's hand while she died. Strong hands, weathered hands, hands that had built a life. They'd taken the life I built, but they hadn't taken my hands, hadn't taken my mind or my will or my capacity to fight. Not yet. I need to get that ring, I said. We'll get it when we get your house back. What if we don't get it back? Then we break in and steal it. But Quinn, we're going to win this. I know it doesn't feel like it right now, but we're going to win. I wanted to believe him, desperately wanted to believe that somehow, against all odds, justice would prevail. That afternoon, Angela called with urgent news. Quinn, I found something. Something big. What? Remember Courtney's grandmother in Indiana? Dorothy Fletcher. I had my investigator dig deeper. The notary stamp on your forged documents. It matches the notary stamp on documents in Dorothy's case. Same person. Linda Fletcher, Courtney's mother. And the witness signatures on your POA? I tracked them down. Courtney's sister, Amanda Fletcher Russo, and her husband, Derek Russo. Derek, the man who'd threatened me at Walter's door. This isn't just Trevor and Courtney, Angela continued. This is a family operation. They've been doing this together. Courtney's mother does the notary fraud. Her sister and brother-in-law provide witness signatures and muscle when needed. They targeted Dorothy 4 years ago, and now they're targeting you. Can we use this? Absolutely. It shows a pattern, a conspiracy. I'm sending all this to the prosecutor's office today. This changes everything, Quinn. We have them. The prosecutor said fraud cases take time. They do. But I have an idea. Something that could end this quickly. It's risky, though. Tell me. The prosecutor wants recorded admissions. If we can get Trevor and Courtney to confess on tape, admit what they've done, they can get immediate arrest warrants. No more waiting months for trial. Immediate arrests and immediate asset freezes. How do we get them to confess? You wear a wire. You go to them. You tell them you're giving up, ready to sign everything over. Whatever they want. You get them talking, feeling confident, and you get them to brag about what they've done. I sat there processing this. You want me to walk into a house with people who threaten to kill me, wearing a wire, and try to trick them into confessing? It's dangerous. I know, but it's the fastest way to end this. One conversation, if it goes right, and we win. And if it goes wrong, you'll have detectives nearby. At the first sign of trouble, they come in. At the first sign of trouble. After how much damage? After how much danger? But Angela was right about one thing. This was the fastest way. Maybe the only way. Courts took forever. Legal battles dragged on. But a recorded confession? That was immediate. Final. I'll do it, I said. Quinn, think about this. These people have threatened violence. I've thought about it. For weeks. I'm done waiting. I'm done being a victim. Set it up. Angela was silent for a moment. Okay. I'll coordinate with the prosecutor's office. We'll need a few days to arrange everything. But Quinn, be careful. These people are dangerous. I knew they were dangerous. I'd felt Trevor's fist. I'd heard Derek's threats. I knew what I was walking into. But I also knew I couldn't live like this anymore. Couldn't spend the rest of my life homeless and penniless while criminals spent my money and lived in my house and laughed about what they'd done. Helen's voice echoed in my memory. Be strong. Fight for what's right. I was 67 years old. I'd spent 45 years building things with my hands. I'd survived war, poverty, loss, grief. I'd built a house, raised a family, buried the love of my life. I wasn't going to let these people destroy me, not without a fight. That night, I couldn't sleep. I lay on Walter's couch in the dark, thinking about what was coming. The wire, the confrontation, the risk. At 3 a.m, I gave up on sleep and pulled out my phone, started scrolling through old photos. Helen and me at Niagara Falls on our honeymoon. Trevor as a baby, sleeping in my arms. Bryn's high school graduation. Helen in the garden behind our house, her hands dirty from planting roses. Then I found a video. My hands shook as I pressed play. Helen appeared on the screen, sitting in our living room. This was from 2 weeks before she died. Hospice had just started. She looked thin, weak, her skin pale, but her eyes were still fierce. Quinn. Her voice came through the speaker, raspy but strong. If you're watching this, I'm gone, and I need you to listen to me. Really listen. I'd forgotten about this video. She'd made me record it one afternoon when the hospice nurse stepped out. You're going to want to give up, Helen continued. You're going to feel lost and alone and like nothing matters anymore. But I need you to be strong. For me, for yourself, for the life we built together. Tears blurred my vision. Fight for what's right, Quinn. Stand up for yourself. Don't let anyone push you around or take advantage of you. You're tougher than you think, stronger than you know. You've survived everything life threw at us. You can survive anything. Her image flickered slightly. I love you. I've always loved you. And wherever I am, whatever comes next, I'm still with you. So be the man I married, the builder, the fighter, the good man who never quit on anything in his life. Don't quit now. The video ended. I sat there in the dark, hearing her words echo in my mind. Don't quit now. Something shifted inside me. Something hardened. The scared, beaten old man who'd been living on Walter's couch for 6 weeks, drowning in despair and defeat, started to fade away. In his place, I felt something else rising. Determination, resolve, the core of who I'd been my whole life. Before Trevor's fist knocked it out of me, I was Quinn Peterson. I'd built my first house at 23 years old. I'd worked construction through recessions and layoffs and injuries. I'd raised 2 kids on a blue-collar salary. I'd held Helen's hand through 3 years of cancer and chemotherapy and radiation without complaint. I'd buried her and kept living because that's what she wanted. I didn't give up. That wasn't who I was. At 8 in the morning, I called Angela. I'm ready. Set up the wire. Set up the meeting. Let's end this. You're sure? I've never been more sure of anything. 3 days later, Angela called back. Everything was arranged. The prosecutor's office was on board. They'd provide the recording equipment. Detectives would be nearby. They'd coached me on what to say, how to get Trevor and Courtney talking. The plan was simple. I'd go to Trevor, tell him I was giving up, ready to sign everything over, drop all legal challenges, walk away forever, make him feel like he'd won. People who think they've won get careless. They brag. They let details slip. And we'd record every word. Angela also had more news. Her investigator, a woman named Grace Hammond, had been working the Indiana angle. She'd found Dorothy Fletcher's neighbor, an elderly woman named Shirley Patterson, who'd witnessed everything 4 years ago. Shirley had given a sworn statement about seeing Courtney pressure her grandmother, seeing Trevor and Courtney move belongings out of Dorothy's house weeks before she died, seeing the family isolate Dorothy from friends. This pattern evidence is crucial, Angela said. It shows this wasn't a one-time opportunistic crime. This is what they do. They're professional elder abusers. Will the prosecutor use it? Absolutely. Combined with a recorded confession from you, we have an overwhelming case. Trevor and Courtney are looking at serious prison time. Forgery, fraud, identity theft, financial exploitation, conspiracy. We're talking years, not months. Years in prison for my son, the boy I'd taught to throw a baseball. The thought should have hurt more than it did. But when I remembered his fist connecting with my jaw, when I remembered Courtney's smirk, when I thought about them celebrating my departure with a party, the sympathy died. They'd made their choices. Now they'd face the consequences. The meeting was set for April 30th, a Thursday afternoon. The detectives would wire me up that morning, brief me one more time. Then I'd drive to my house, the house I built, and confront the people who'd stolen it. Walter tried to talk me out of it the night before. Quinn, this is dangerous. These people threaten to kill you. What if something goes wrong? Then something goes wrong. But I can't keep living like this, Walter. I can't spend the rest of my life on your couch, broke and scared and defeated. I need to end this, whatever it takes. What if they hurt you? They've already hurt me, worse than any punch could. They've taken my home, my money, my dignity, my daughter's trust. There's nothing left to take except my life. And honestly, if I don't fight back, what kind of life do I have anyway? Walter shook his head but didn't argue further. He knew I'd made up my mind. That night, I barely slept again. But this time, it wasn't from fear or despair. It was anticipation. Like the night before a big construction job, when you've done all the planning and preparation, and tomorrow you start building. Except this time, I wasn't building. I was taking back what was mine. April 30th dawned clear and cool. Spring sunshine lighting up Walter's small apartment. I showered, dressed in jeans and a flannel shirt, the same clothes I'd worn to 1,000 construction sites over the years. The detectives met me at a coffee shop at 9. 2 men, Detective James Ryan and Detective Marcus Taylor, both in their 40s, both looking serious and professional. Mr. Peterson, we're going to fit you with a recording device, Ryan explained. It's small, goes under your shirt. We'll be parked 3 houses down, listening to everything. At the first sign of physical threat, we come in immediately. Understood? Understood. They fitted the wire, a tiny microphone and transmitter that felt strange against my chest. Tested it, made me say a few sentences. Everything worked perfectly. Your job is to get them talking, Taylor said. Act defeated. Act ready to surrender. Make them feel safe and superior. People who feel like they've won tend to brag. And when they brag, they give us what we need. What if they don't take the bait? Then we wait and try another approach. But Mr. Peterson, from what we've learned about these people, they won't be able to resist gloating. Narcissists and con artists can't help themselves. They need to feel superior. Use that. I nodded, tried to calm my racing heart. This was it. Walter insisted on coming. I'm not letting you do this alone. I'll park across the street. Back up for the backup. Walter, don't argue. I'm coming. At 11:30, we drove to my house. My hands gripped the steering wheel of my truck, the truck I'd been living in and out of for weeks. The detectives followed in an unmarked car. Walter followed in his truck. We parked. The detectives positioned themselves. Walter pulled in across the street, looking worried but determined. I sat in my truck for a moment, looking at my house. The house I'd built with these hands. The house where Helen and I raised our children. The house where she died. My house. Time to take it back. I got out of the truck, walked up to the front door, and knocked. Courtney answered the door. Her face went from annoyed to shocked in half a second when she saw me standing there. What are you doing here? I need to talk to Trevor. He doesn't want to talk to you. Please. I'm done fighting. I just want to work something out. She studied me, suspicion clear in her eyes. I kept my face neutral, defeated, shoulders slumped, playing the part of a broken old man who'd finally given up. Something shifted in her expression. Victory. Satisfaction. She called over her shoulder. Trevor, your dad's here. Trevor appeared in the hallway. He looked good, healthy, well-fed, living well on my stolen money. When he saw me, his mouth curved into a smile. Dad, what a surprise. Come in. I stepped inside. My house. It looked so different now. New furniture bought with my money. New television. New decorations. They'd erased Helen and me from these walls, replaced our life with their own. Have a seat. Trevor gestured to the couch. My old couch was gone. This was some expensive leather thing that probably cost $3,000. Saturday, Courtney sat across from me. Trevor stayed standing, arms crossed, looking down at me like I was a subordinate employee. What do you want, Dad? I want to make a deal. What kind of deal? I'm tired, Trevor. I'm 67 years old. I can't afford to keep fighting. The legal bills are killing me. I'm living on Walter's couch. My health is failing. I just want this to end. Trevor's smile widened. So you're ready to admit defeat? I forced myself to nod. I'll sign the house over, drop all the legal challenges, walk away. All I'm asking is for enough money to start over somewhere else. 50,000. That's it. You keep everything else. Trevor actually laughed, threw his head back and laughed like I'd told the funniest joke he'd ever heard. 50,000? Dad, we spent that already. The wire under my shirt picked up every word. You spent it? The boat docked at the marina? That's from your money. Cost 32,000. The Rolex on my wrist? He held up his arm, showing off a gold watch that gleamed in the sunlight from the window. Your money. That trip to Cancun last month? Your credit card. We had a great time, didn't we, baby? Courtney grinned. Best vacation ever. Those beach resorts don't come cheap. I kept my voice steady, defeated. But that was my life savings. Was being the key word, Trevor said. It's our money now. All of it. The house, the accounts, everything. You signed it all over to me, remember? I never signed anything. Trevor sat down next to Courtney, put his arm around her, both of them looking at me like I was pathetic. Dad, we've been planning this for 2 years. Ever since Mom died and we realized you were sitting on all this equity with nobody to stop us. It was almost too easy. 2 years. Keep him talking. Keep him bragging. Started the day after Mom's funeral, Courtney said. Trevor called me, told me about the house, the savings, how you were all alone with no one to protect you. We knew exactly what to do. You were so easy to manipulate, Trevor continued, letting us move in rent-free, trusting us with financial advice, never questioning anything. You made it simple, but the power of attorney. My mom forged it, Courtney said proudly. She's done it before. She's really good at it. The notary stamp, the signatures, everything. Looks completely real. And the witnesses, my sister and her husband. They signed off on everything. Made it all official looking. Trevor leaned forward. You want to know the best part, Dad? The assault. That wasn't anger. That was strategy. We needed you out of the house so we could claim abandonment. I hit you just hard enough to scare you, but not hard enough to leave permanent damage. Calculated. Planned. And it worked perfectly. He was confessing everything. Every detail. Every crime. The wire was recording it all. But why the party? Courtney laughed. Oh, that was my idea. We were celebrating finally getting that old man out of our way. Out of our house. We earned the right to party. Our house. She kept saying our house. And Bryn? I asked quietly. My daughter. She was easy too, Trevor said. I called her months ago. Started planting seeds about your memory problems. Made it seem like you were losing it, getting confused, might be dangerous. By the time you tried to tell her the truth, she already thought you were senile. She actually signed a statement supporting my competency petition. Your own daughter helped destroy you. The words hurt worse than his fist had. But I kept my face neutral, so there's nothing left. Nothing you'll give me? Nothing, Trevor said flatly. You get nothing. You lose. We win. That's how this ends. You know, I said slowly, there's one thing you forgot. What's that? You should have learned one more lesson from what you did to Courtney's grandmother in Indiana. Trevor's face changed. The smile disappeared. What? You should have learned not to underestimate your father. I stood up and pulled open my flannel shirt, showing the wire taped to my chest. For one frozen second, nobody moved. Then Trevor's face went white. Courtney screamed. You set us up. Trevor lunged at me, hands reaching for the wire. You recorded us. Every word, I said. Trevor grabbed at the microphone, trying to rip it off. His hands closed around my shirt, pulling, tearing. Courtney was screaming something, her voice high and panicked. Then the front door exploded open. Police, hands up. Now, Detectives Ryan and Taylor burst in, weapons drawn. More officers behind them, flooding into my house. Get your hands off him. Step back. Trevor let go of me, stumbling backward. Courtney was still screaming. The officers moved fast, professional, efficient. Trevor Quinn, Courtney Quinn, you're under arrest for fraud, forgery, identity theft, financial exploitation of an elderly person, assault, and conspiracy to commit fraud. They spun Trevor around, cuffed his hands behind his back. Another officer did the same to Courtney. Read them their Miranda rights while they both shouted and protested. Walter burst through the door behind the police, his face pale. He rushed to me. Quinn, are you okay? I'm fine. It worked. It actually worked. Detective Ryan was grinning. Mr. Peterson, we got everything. Complete confessions. Admissions to all the major crimes. Details about the conspiracy. This is exactly what we needed. Trevor was being led toward the door, still in cuffs. He twisted around to look at me, his face red with rage. You'll never see your grandson. I'll make sure Bryn hates you forever. You're dead to this family. I'm not dead, I said quietly. But you're going to prison. Courtney spat at me as the officers dragged her past. Missed. Hit the floor. They pulled her out to the waiting police cars. More officers were going through the house now, taking photos, gathering evidence. Angela appeared. Must have been waiting outside with the police. She walked over, smiling wider than I'd ever seen. Quinn, that was perfect. Absolutely perfect. They confessed to everything. The forgery, the conspiracy, the pattern with the grandmother. We have them cold. Through the window, I watched Trevor and Courtney being put into separate police cars. Neighbors stood on their lawns, watching, The same neighbors who'd seen the party 6 weeks ago. Now they were seeing the arrests. The reality of it hit me all at once. It was over. The nightmare was actually over. My legs went weak. Walter caught me, helped me sit down on the expensive leather couch Trevor had bought with my stolen money. "We did it," I whispered. "You did it," Walter corrected. "You were braver than I've ever seen anyone be." Angela sat down next to me. "The prosecutor will file formal charges today. With these confessions on tape, plus all the evidence we've gathered, Trevor and Courtney will plead guilty. They'll have to. No jury would ever side with them after hearing those recordings. They're looking at years in prison, and the judge will order full restitution of all stolen assets, plus damages. Years in prison for my son, my boy, the baby I'd held, the child I'd raised, the young man I'd been so proud of. But he wasn't that person anymore. Maybe he never had been. Maybe I'd been blind to who he really was until he showed me his true face with his fist and his schemes and his betrayals. What happens now? I asked. Now we wait for the legal process to unfold. But Quinn, this house is yours again. As of right now, you can move back in immediately. We'll get your accounts unfrozen within days. Everything they stole will be returned. You've won. I looked around my house. The house I built. It would take work to make it feel like home again, to erase Trevor and Courtney's presence, to bring Helen's memory back into these walls. But I had time. I had won. Against all odds, against overwhelming obstacles, I'd fought back and won. Helen would be proud. 3 months later, on a warm July evening, I stood in my kitchen drinking coffee from Helen's favorite mug, watching the sunset through the window over the sink. My kitchen, my house, my home. Trevor had pled guilty to all charges in late May. Forgery, fraud, identity theft, financial exploitation of an elderly person, assault, and conspiracy. The judge sentenced him to 4 years in prison. Courtney got 3 years. Her mother, Linda Fletcher, lost her notary license and faced fraud charges. Derek Russo, Courtney's brother-in-law who'd threatened me, was charged with witness intimidation and got 18 months. The judge had ordered complete restitution. Every penny they'd stolen had to be returned, plus $20,000 in damages. The bank settled with me separately for their role in allowing the transfers without proper verification, adding another $60,000 to what I recovered. I had my money back. All of it, plus extra. More importantly, I had my house back. I'd spent the past 3 months cleaning, repairing, reclaiming every room. I'd thrown out all the furniture Trevor and Courtney bought, brought my old furniture out of storage, hung Helen's family photos back on the walls where they belonged. I found her wedding ring in the nightstand drawer, exactly where I'd left it. They'd never even looked for it. Too busy spending my money on boats and vacations to notice the truly valuable things. I wore the ring on a chain around my neck now. Touched it sometimes when I needed to feel Helen close. Walter had helped me fix everything they'd damaged. The cigarette burns on Helen's coffee table, we'd sanded down and refinished. The trampled rose bushes in the garden, we'd replanted. The house looked like home again. Like ours. I'd paid Walter back for everything. The months of housing, the food, the support. He'd refused the money at first, but I insisted. Wouldn't take no for an answer. In the end, I'd offered to renovate his bathroom as payment. He accepted that. We'd spent 2 weeks doing the work together, my old construction skills coming back like muscle memory. Felt good to build something again instead of just fighting. Walter and I were closer than brothers now. He'd saved my life in ways that had nothing to do with the couch or the meals. He'd believed in me when I couldn't believe in myself. Reminded me who I was when I'd forgotten. Angela Winters had taken her full fee from the recovered assets. She'd earned every penny. She'd also used my case as the foundation for lobbying efforts, pushing for stronger elder abuse laws in the state, testifying before the legislature, using my story to help protect other elderly people from predators. Grace Hammond, the investigator, I'd paid in full and sent a bonus. She'd sent me a card saying I was the bravest client she'd ever worked with. I kept that card on my refrigerator. The situation with Bryn was complicated, painful, slow. When the arrests happened, when the confessions became public record, Bryn had to face the truth. Her brother was a criminal who'd manipulated her, used her, almost destroyed her father with her unwitting help. The guilt had devastated her. She'd called me 2 days after the arrests, crying so hard I could barely understand her words, apologizing, begging forgiveness. I told her the same thing I was telling myself. Trevor betrayed us both. She'd trusted her brother. That wasn't wrong. He'd weaponized that trust against both of us. We were rebuilding our relationship slowly. She'd visited twice, brought the kids, my grandchildren who I hadn't seen in months. We'd had awkward, careful conversations, started healing the wounds. It would take time, maybe years, but we were trying. She'd shown me a picture her 8-year-old son had drawn, a house with a man standing in front of it, smiling. The boy had written Grandpa's house at the top in crayon. I'd put that picture on my refrigerator next to Grace's card. Trevor hadn't contacted me, wouldn't respond to letters, told the prison chaplain he never wanted to see me again, blamed me for everything, said I'd framed him, destroyed his life, stolen his future. Maybe someday he'd take responsibility for his own choices. Maybe not. I couldn't control that, could only control my own response. I'd forgiven him, not because he deserved it, but because carrying hatred was too heavy a burden at my age. Forgiveness didn't mean forgetting or excusing. It meant letting go of the poison that was hurting me more than him. He was my son. I'd always love him in some way, but I'd also accepted that he'd made his choices, and those choices had consequences. Adult consequences, prison consequences. My health had improved. Blood pressure under control. No more chest pains. I'd started sleeping through the night again. Put back on the weight I'd lost. Looked in mirrors and recognized myself again. I'd even started working part-time. A local construction company, Riverside Builders, had hired me as a consultant. They needed my expertise and experience on projects. Paid me well. Gave me purpose and structure to my days. Felt good to be useful again. To share knowledge I'd spent 50 years accumulating. I'd also joined a veterans support group at the community center. Other older men, mostly in their 60s and 70s, meeting weekly to talk and share stories. Many of them had faced their own battles. Different kinds, but just as hard. We understood each other. Nobody judged. Nobody pitied. We just listened and supported. I wasn't alone anymore. On this July evening, standing in my kitchen watching the sunset, I thought about everything that had happened. The assault, the theft, the legal nightmare, the threats, the darkest moments when I'd wanted to give up. And I thought about the lessons I'd learned. The hard, painful lessons that came from surviving something that almost destroyed me. I'd learned that family doesn't guarantee loyalty. Blood doesn't guarantee love. People can betray you in ways you never imagined, even people you raised and trusted completely. But I'd also learned that I was tougher than I thought, stronger than I knew. At 67 years old, facing overwhelming odds, with my life in ruins, I'd found the strength to fight back, to stand up, to refuse to surrender. Helen had been right. I was tougher than I thought. I'd learned that giving up is easy. Fighting is hard. But hard doesn't mean impossible. Every day I'd wanted to quit. Every day brought new obstacles, new setbacks, new reasons to walk away. But I hadn't quit. And eventually, persistence had won. I'd learned that justice takes time, but it does come. Not always in the way you expect, and never as fast as you want. But if you keep fighting, if you keep telling the truth, if you refuse to let lies stand unchallenged, eventually the truth wins. I'd learned that you can't do it alone. Walter, Angela, Grace, Patricia at the bank, Detective Ryan and Taylor, the prosecutor's office, even strangers who showed me kindness when I needed it most. Community matters. Support matters. Accepting help isn't weakness, it's survival. And I'd learned that your life's value isn't measured in money or property. Those things can be stolen. But your dignity, your integrity, your sense of self, your strength of character, those can only be surrendered, never taken. And I hadn't surrendered mine. I finished my coffee, washed the mug in the sink, looked out the window at my backyard, at Helen's roses blooming again, at the deck I'd built, at the life I'd reclaimed. Tomorrow, I'd go to work at Riverside Builders, help them solve a foundation problem on a new development. Use my hands and my knowledge to build something instead of fight something. This weekend, Bryn and the kids were coming to visit. We'd have a cookout in the backyard. Start building new memories in this house, pushing out the bad ones with better ones. Next week, I was taking Walter to that casino up by the lake he'd always wanted to visit. My treat. A thank you that could never fully repay what he'd done for me, but a start. Life was moving forward. I walked through my house, touching the walls, remembering. Helen in the kitchen, cooking Sunday dinners. Trevor and Bryn as children, running through these rooms. Christmases and birthdays and ordinary Tuesday evenings. 43 years of life lived in these walls. Trevor had tried to erase it all, but he'd failed. The memories were still here. Helen was still here, in every room, in every corner, in my heart. I stopped in the living room, looked at her photo on the mantel. Her smile, forever captured at age 60, just before the cancer came. I did it, Helen, I said quietly. I fought back. I didn't give up, just like you told me. The house was silent, but I felt her presence, her approval, her love. I'd survived the worst thing I could imagine. Lost everything and clawed it back. Faced my own son in battle and won. And now, at 67 years old, I was starting over. Not from nothing, because I had my home and my savings and my health and my dignity, but starting fresh, building a new chapter, figuring out what the rest of my life looked like. I thought about other people out there, other elderly folks facing what I'd faced, predators targeting them, family members betraying them, feeling helpless and alone and too scared to fight back. I wanted them to know something I'd learned the hard way. You're stronger than you think, tougher than you know. When someone tries to take everything from you, even if it's your own family, you can stand up, you can fight, you can win. It won't be easy. It'll be the hardest thing you've ever done. You'll want to quit 100 times, but don't. Keep fighting. Keep telling the truth. Keep refusing to surrender, because your life matters. Your dignity matters. Your truth matters. And nobody, not even the people who are supposed to love you, has the right to take that away. I'd spent 45 years building houses. Now I was building something else. A second act, a comeback, a life reclaimed from the ashes of betrayal. And it felt good. It felt right. It felt like victory. As the sun set completely and darkness filled my windows, I turned on the lights in my house, my home, the place Helen and I built together, the place I'd fought to keep, the place I'd won back. I was Quinn Peterson, 67 years old, construction worker, veteran, widower, father, grandfather, fighter, survivor, victor, and I was home. Now, I want to ask you something. Have you or someone you know ever faced betrayal from family members or people you trusted? How did you find the strength to fight back? Share your story in the comments below. Your experience might help someone else who's going through their own battle right now. If this story moved you, if it gave you hope or courage, please hit that like button and subscribe to this channel for more stories about ordinary people facing extraordinary challenges and finding the strength to overcome. And please share this story with anyone who might need to hear it. Someone out there is facing their own Trevor and Courtney, feeling helpless and alone. Let them know they're not alone. Let them know they're stronger than they think. Thank you for listening to my story. Thank you for being here. May you always have the courage to stand up for yourself, the strength to fight for what's right, and the wisdom to know that giving up is never the answer. Stay strong, stay brave, and never, ever let anyone steal your dignity.